Welcome to the You Need More Money podcast. I'm your host, Matt Manero, where I come to you every week from my studio in Dallas, Texas. I really could use a favor if you have enjoyed this podcast. If this podcast has helped you in any way, I really need you to do me a favor and help me win $1,000 from Brad Lee. My buddy Brad Lee and I have made a bet. Whoever's podcast is ranked higher on iTunes by the start of 10X GrowthCon, really the book launch party that I'm having February 21st, rooftop of the Mandalay Bay. Whoever's podcast is ranked higher on that night wins $1,000. In order for me to beat my buddy Bradley, I need your help. I need to ask you to go and review the podcast. Leave me a 5-star review. Hell, leave me a 1-star review if you don't like it. I don't really care. I just want you, if this podcast has been beneficial to you, I just want you to support me and leave reviews. I need as many reviews as I possibly can. He's way ahead of me. I'm at 114. Under business investing, my podcast is 114. And I think under business, Bradley is 57. So I got to get to 57. Let's get into the podcast. Money is a win or lose game, my friend. Now, most people will try to disguise their financial situation as if it's okay. But I know it's all bullshit for most people. Most people who have lost at the game of money, when it's real quiet and they are alone with their thoughts, they have deep regrets. They regret that they didn't push harder, that they didn't earn more money, man, that they didn't put more away, that they pissed away too much money. That will be you. There will be a time in your life where when it's real quiet and it's just you reflecting on your life, you will have to determine whether you won or lost the game of money. There's no way around it. You will either finish with abundance or you will finish with concessions, with what ifs. That's the purpose of this podcast. It's to wake your ass up to your current money situation and then give you the real life strategies, the stuff that I did to get myself clear on where I was, where I wanted to be, and how could I get there, the roadmap. It all comes out in the book, March 20th. Man, it's starting here. The push for the book is on, baby. But it's because I'm proud of that book. And I know that that book's going to help a lot of people. One of the biggest questions I've asked myself over the years, though, is when is enough enough? When is enough money enough? When can I take my hand off the throttle? When can I stop pushing? When can I stop worrying about it? Downright, when can I stop being in a panic over it? Hell, when am I supposed to retire? When am I supposed to stop working? What's the number? Somebody tell me what that number is. Where do I find that number? You know, when I had my buddy Ed Milet on the podcast, and I asked Ed Milet, when did you know you had enough money to buy this incredible oceanfront home that he has in Laguna Beach? Ed Milet had a very interesting answer. He said, I knew I could afford it when I could stroke a check for it, when I could pay cash for it. Now, look, I like that answer, and nobody can disagree with the fact that that's powerful. When you can stroke a check, maybe you can, unless you're stroking a check and you're left with nothing in the bank. I guarantee you there are people who are buying Lambos or homes or even vacations, and because they can stroke a check for it, they think they can afford it, even though they're left with nothing afterwards. I know that was not the case with my man, Ed Milet. Ed is rich. But how else do you know? And I searched, and finally I came up with a formula for the book. The formula is called the 1-3-5-10 formula. I talk about it at length in the book, and I'm going to give you the formula on today's podcast to help you understand how much is enough money. I'm going to give you the actual strategy that I have employed to figure out whether or not I have enough money. I've tested this formula all over the place. And, you know, I never forget when I knew this formula was solid and I knew it was spot on. I mentioned it to so many different people. in preparation and trying to figure it out. What is it? What is it? What is it? And one day I said to my buddy Stanley, who plays poker with me, second Tuesday, in fact, I play poker with him because it's at his house, second Tuesday every month for the last now 13 years, the same group has gotten together and we play poker at Stanley's house. And Stanley's rich. And I remember laying this out to him, the 1, 3, 5, 10 formula. And he sat and he thought about it for a minute. And he goes, yeah, that works. That's good. And I knew at that moment that the 1, 3, 5, 10 formula was accurate. So let me give you the 1, 3, 5, 10 formula, because all I care about is giving you information that's going to help you get your money situation right. Here's the real formula. This is the test that is going to tell you whether or not you're on track with your money. I base the formula, there were a number of different ways I could have based the formula, but I base the formula off of net worth. So let's define net worth so we're all clear. Net worth is assets, what you own, minus liabilities, what you owe, equals net worth. Now, I like net worth because it is, while it's not always liquid, there is a liquidability to your net worth. Now, you may have long-term real estate holdings like I do. You may have a business that may consist in your net worth and may not be liquidable, easily liquidable. But in general, I think it's a pretty good metric. So it's your assets minus your liabilities equals your net worth. And I broke it down in age brackets. So here's how it works. The 1x is from age 20 to 29. You should have a net worth of 1 times your annual gross income. So I'm going to give you real specifics on this. If you make $50,000 a year and you're 28 years old, you should have a net worth of 1 times your income. Your income is $50,000, you should have a net worth of $50,000. Simple. That gives you in metrics how well you're doing. Are you on track or are you behind? 28 years old, making 50, you should have a net worth of 50. Now, you may not own a house yet, but you got to figure out where that 50 is going to come from. Is it going to come from cash? Is it going to come from your 401k? Is it going to come from stocks? Where's the 50K going to come from? But you need that 50K. Now, let's go to the next decade. You're age 30 to age 39. You should have a 3x, a 3 times your annual income. I'm going to give you the same example. 50 grand a year, so you're 35, 33, 38, it doesn't matter. You're making 50 grand a year. You should have a net worth now of $150,000. Assets minus liabilities equals net worth. Net worth should be 3 times your annual income in your 30s. You can start doing the math, as I hope you're already doing. You're making 100 in your 30s. Should have 300K in a net worth. Now, let's go a little further. In your 40s, you need a 5X. So you're making 100K a year. You need to have a net worth of 500. And let's go to your 50s. Age 50 and above, you need to have a 10 times your annual income as your net worth. So I'm going to go deep on you here. You're making 250 grand. And you're 50, you should have a net worth of $2.5 million. Now, here's why it works. Listen to me on this. This is the most important component of this formula. Because you might say to yourself, well, 2.5 million doesn't seem like a lot. You might say 2.5 seems like a lot. But here's what it tells you. You have already predetermined what your retirement lifestyle is going to look like based on your current income. In other words, if you're 50 and you make $250 a year, you have already said what you're willing to tolerate and what you're willing to put up with and what your retirement is going to look like. You've made that decision. Because if it was something different, if you said, I want to be rich, you wouldn't have been making 250 grand. You'd be making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, whatever that number is for you. But it sure as hell wouldn't be 250 grand because 250 grand ain't going to get you rich. So here's my point. Why does 2.5 million or why does 10 times the income work? Because subconsciously it connects to what you're willing to deal with and what you're willing to tolerate. If you're 50 and you make 100 grand, 10 times 100 grand is $1 million. And guess what? Your $1 million in retirement will probably afford you the same lifestyle that your $100,000 did. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe a little bit less. But you're not going to Tuscany in the summers if you're making 100 grand. Now, if you're making $1 million a year, 10 times the million is $10 million bucks in your net worth. A $10 million net worth does afford you the ability to live like you did at $1 million. Don't fight me on this formula. This formula works. Now listen, I ain't a CPA. I'm not some financial actuary. I haven't run these numbers out every which way from Sunday. I just talk to real people who have money and who don't have money. And I look at my own situation and say, what was the formula that I was shooting for? And because I'm an income guy, I'm not an expense cutter. I am not a rice and beans and rice minivan dude. I had to figure out if I want to live in the custom that I am at $1 million a year, what do I need? And that's where the 1, 3, 5, 10 came into place. That's the formula. 1, 3, 5, 10. 1 is in your 20s, 3 is in your 30s, 5 is in your 40s, and 10 is in your 50s. Now, take the time to test it for yourself. Where are you? If you're 30 and you're making 100, do you have 300K net worth? You might. If you're making 200 and you're 30, you have 600? I don't know. The problem is for those that are making a lot of money and you don't have it. That's where the wake-up call comes. And that's what I want to tell you about it one more time. I'm going to finish the show just like I started with my dossier about money. Money is a win or lose game, my friend. Most people will try to disguise their financial situation as okay, but I know it's bullshit. Most people who have lost at the game of money, when it's real quiet and they're alone in their thoughts, they have massively deep regrets. They regret that they didn't push harder, that they didn't earn more money, that they didn't put more away, that they didn't get more focus. Maybe they're pissed that they just pissed it all away. I decided that was not going to be me. And I don't want it to be you. But hear me clearly. Sooner or later, you will have won or lost the game of money. There is no in between. There is no gray area. You will finish your life with plenty, or you will finish your life with less. I'll see you down the road.
That's our episode this week with your host, Matt Manero. Check us out every Friday at 12 p.m. Central as we discuss money, your life, and how you need more money.